live from New York. It's a show that's not happy
Congrats,
about
Wild.
Mayo. What?
Congrats, buddy.
What do you want him
Your
to do?
team
Lose
won.
the game on purpose?
Well,
he should have lost the game on purpose. You're firing him for losing games.
No,
Last game, he's not allowed to win the game?
He was. That statement was so long, he was fired well before the game. Is it not lost on you, Brew, that first game of the year started by Jacoby Brissett, the Patriots won. Last game of the year, Joe Milton plays, the Patriots won. Those middle 15, they barely won anything with Wild's guy Drake May.
Joe Milton looked good.
Iron sharpens iron, Brew.
He looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Drake. So
Into
I'm
the
not
offseason,
dissing Drake May,
maybe a little quarterback
Joe Milton looked pretty
controversy.
good.
Iron sharpens iron. I'm here for it. We're starting with the Lions win, get the bye, and fix their defense all in one night. Detroit finishes 15-2. Jahmyr Gibbs, 4 touchdowns. Lions defense only allows a handful of field goals. During Dan Campbell's sound, this is just to let you know what's going on behind the scenes.
Look at the Lions defense.
Yeah, the Lions defense was excellent.
Was great. They were great.
Also, while Dan Campbell was talking, I see Nick giddily put his hand in his pocket like a pickpocket. Don't do it. It's a tired bit, and no one likes it, and it doesn't have any relevance. The question is, did Detroit quiet all their concerns?
I don't know what you're talking about. I was reaching for a handkerchief.
Okay, fine.
Listen, that was a great win under very tough circumstances. Great win.
Yeah.
And listen, I do think that Dan Campbell, well, you've ruined the bit, so now I just
Now you're sitting there like this. I mean, you gotta do something.
I mean, Wild, the magic of television, Wild just can't let it roll.
Go ahead, do it. Just do it. It will work. It will work.
It'll come later.
Now you have little hands in your pocket.
All right, listen, I want to give credit because Dan Campbell kind of danced through the raindrops on this a bit. Well, I don't know why Brew is dusting off his shoulders, but everything has set up for them perfectly.
Yeah.
Because they did get the 1 seed. My biggest problem, if you will, with them playing Monday night was, one, adding the injury risk that they didn't need to, but even more than that was, I thought it was putting them in a worse position for their first playoff game of the year, which last night essentially was. I know it was game 272 of the regular season. It was really game 1 of this year's postseason because of the impact it has on who can win the championship. And not only did they win, they were awesome. And so it all worked out perfectly for them. I said on Friday's show, I thought they were going to lose, and I thought that was now going to lead to a round 1 exit. Well, they won, and now they don't have to play in round 1. As far as the defense being fixed, we're going to talk more about Darnold in a moment. I think the send the house on 60% of the snaps will not work against really good quarterbacks. Now, in the NFC playoffs, you might not have to play any really good quarterbacks. Stafford, you guys know I think he's in that category. He doesn't have the numbers to support that this year, but I know that wouldn't work in the AFC playoffs. They're not in the AFC. Right. The Terrion Arnold injury just adds to the list, and that's another really tough one for them, but they got Anzalone back with his gnarly scar, and he was excellent. So I have never doubted the Lions' talent and their win healthy upside. The fact that they were able to do that when not healthy is noteworthy in what it gained for them. I don't think you can run that defense that way to a Super Bowl victory, but they did what they had to do, and they're 15-2. It's a great win. So that's why I wanted to give them a round of applause to start, but you wouldn't let me. You ruined it. I wanted to start with a round of applause, but go ahead. Sorry.
Here's where I disagree with you. It didn't work out for them. They made it work out.
That's fair.
They made it work out. Because things weren't, obviously things haven't worked out overall with all the injuries.
Yes.
But despite the injuries, they've done it their way. And look, I'm not against the Chiefs for sitting guys out. That's what the Chiefs have done the last few years when they got it wrapped up. But Detroit's culture is we play under Dan Campbell. Chiefs got one culture. They be true to themselves. Detroit is true to its culture, and it paid off. And I was stunned at how great their defense was. You're right. It was kind of gimmicky with all the blitzing, but it had Sam Darnold. We'll get to him seeing ghosts, you know.
Yes.
And they guarded Justin Jefferson well. They went man. They dared to go man against Minnesota's receivers, and they did a great job. Look, the questions revolving around the Lions were, one, obviously the defense. They answered it. I mean, we'll see how it is in the playoffs, but this is a very good team. This is a team that scored, 34 on Houston, 31 on Green Bay.
Which team are we talking about right now?
Minnesota. And they held them to a season-low 9 points. So the defense showed up yesterday. They got Anzalone back, so that's a good sign. The other question was, were they playing with fire when they played guys? They showed that they were fine. They play football. This is what we do. We don't need an extra day's rest. The only negative for them yesterday was Goff's play.
Yes.
Right? With the 2 interceptions. I mean, otherwise it was okay, but the 2 interceptions. But I don't have questions about Goff, particularly in the NFC. I'm not saying, like, he's good enough to get them in the Super Bowl. I actually think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl with. So even though he didn't play well yesterday, I'm not saying, like I am, we'll get to Darnold. Like, I got questions about Darnold. I don't really have questions about Goff. He's playoff proven. He's been to the Super Bowl. So he was bad yesterday or had the 2 picks, but he'll be fine. And then Gibbs took it back old school. Look, these great running backs, and I like David Montgomery. You know, I love the Sonic and Knuckles nickname and all that. These great running backs, they're like, I don't need to platoon. That's right. Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs.
I know Bijan's team missed the playoffs. Right. He had a monster year.
It's like, I don't need to be platooned, and hopefully we'll get back to seeing some guys be bell cows again.
I know you have
a bell cow.
Whole bit probably making fun of me. No, it's fine. The audience loves that. But I just want to say one thing about Gibbs, and this is a very high compliment that people from my hometown will read as a high compliment. I hope everyone else does. He's the first back in the last decade that reminds me when I'm watching him of Jamal Charles. And Jamal Charles, I know he's probably not right. He's probably not a name as many people think of as a. To me, he was an all-time great. An all-time great that
fantasy-wise,
he put up crazy numbers.
But it was on bad teams and didn't play in big playoff games. But as far as the speed plus some power plus the insane contact balance where you can be going full speed, get hit, gather and go. And so, he's a special, he being Gibbs, a special player. Now go ahead, Wild.
I'm not going to do my bit making fun of you. I already did it in the office to you, so I can't really do it twice. Yeah. Basically, you know. No, I should have played a guy. The injury, no. Do you think it's super lame? Because we get to make new playoff picks.
Well, you do because neither of Wild's teams made the playoffs.
Even made the playoffs.
Neither of his Super Bowl teams made the playoffs.
Sorry, I believed in Brock Purdy. Maybe I've been sitting next to you for too long.
It wasn't Purdy's fault. It went a lot deeper than Brock Purdy.
It feels like the Chiefs and the Lions are on a collision course. They both have the bye, I know, but it just feels like. You see?
I want to salute him. Brew, did you know Wilds has embraced a new character?
No, I didn't.
Captain Easy Stance. Where it's just like, let me survey the landscape and see what the most universally popular easy steak is. I think the 1 seeds are good this year.
The question was, do you think that's lame? It does feel like that.
Yeah.
They feel like the same team. This is why, because it was my take from 2 weeks ago, that there's a lot of things to point at. The Chiefs' offense, by the metrics, is not good.
No,
and your argument was how they looked the final game. And that was supposed to erase a season of question marks. Now, the Lions did the same things. The defense was bad, and I could fire back at you like how they looked the last game. No, maybe they're getting it together.
This is why I.
1 seed's colliding.
This is all right. So the Lions making the Super Bowl right now is a great take.
I think they should be the favorites in the NFC.
Of course, being able to skip a playoff game.
So I'm surprised you say them over Philly.
Well, I value the bye more than I value home field. Yeah. And so I think that if Philly and Detroit were to play on a neutral field, I think Philly is a touch better than Detroit in its current state. But one, it wouldn't be on a neutral field. And two, Philly has to win an extra game to get there. Right. So as far as being the favorites, that's different than who you would favor in a head-to-head. The reason I reject your Lions-Chiefs comp is twofold. Saying by the metrics the Chiefs have a terrible offense is totally false. By the metrics, they have a good, not great offense. By this made-up new thing of how many times did you score 31 points?
Just the Patriots and the Raiders.
Right. By that solo weird thing. And the other reason is the Lions defense over the last quarter of the season was dead last in everything.
Yeah.
Last night now does change that to a degree. You know what? And so those are the two reasons I
think there's also that the Chiefs have their starters. Like the Lions have a lot of backups playing. Even though they played well yesterday, they do have a lot of backups playing versus the Chiefs. These are their starters.
Yes.
I think it's a good take.
Yeah, well, listen.
So that's your Super Bowl pick.
Yeah.
No, we're going to make one later on. I do like the Chiefs a lot, and I do like the Lions.
And by the way, we're going to do our NBA picks pretty soon. He's a big Celtics Thunder guy this year.
What's wrong with that? Maybe I like the Cavs. Maybe I pick the Cavs.
Yeah, it'll be Cavs. Cavs.
Oh, we'll have to
Cavs,
check the standings.
You're going straight record.
I like the Celtics.
Cavs impressive, man.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, the Vikings will take their 14-3 season and be on the road against the Rams. Sam Darnold, 18 for 41, only 166 yards. Okay, when we previewed this game, we said, look at Sam Darnold's Week 7 numbers, and he completed 82% of his passes, almost 300 yards. We thought we were going to get a repeat of this. Turns out, worst in completion percentage, yards per pass, and kind of deep throws, 10 or more air yards.
And I think the fewest points they scored all year.
Yeah, no touchdown. So was he exposed? Did he go pumpkin?
I sat here last week when we asked which team between Detroit and Minnesota needs the 1 seed more. And I said it was Minnesota, mainly because of Sam Darnold. Not that I expected him to go pumpkin mode necessarily, but he's never played in a playoff game as a starter. And so I thought it was important for him to do that at home. Now, yesterday, you said it kind of like a playoff game. It wasn't one and done, but it was a playoff game. And he goes out and has arguably, it wasn't his worst game. He had 3 picks against Jacksonville, but one of his worst games of the season. You can argue that yesterday was the first game this season. You can argue that there were really major expectations on Sam Darnold. I think throughout the season, it's kind of been anything he gave you was gravy. We don't expect much. It's really Justin Jefferson. It's really Kevin O'Connell, Aaron Jones. Now, you start talking about him and others in the MVP discussion. And so now it was like, oh, Sam Darnold can ball. He's arrived. And that puts pressure on you. I don't know whether he felt it or not, but I'm just saying the circumstances are everything before was, oh, wow, he played well.
That's right.
He played great. Yesterday it was we expect him to ball, and he fell on his face. Yeah. And they got pressured. Like you said, they brought the house Detroit, and they hit him 14 times, sacked him twice.
According to First Things First, 10 times.
10 times? Okay.
Well, Josh is a stickler for what he views as, hits taken 10, pressured 22, and pressure
there
percentage
you go.
49%.
But you could say, oh, was it the pressure that the QB hits, did they take their toll? But early on, he was off.
This was, without a doubt, the biggest game of his career.
Yeah.
With his whole career, not just with the Vikings, his whole career. The only thing anywhere close to a playoff type of game he's ever played in. And he was brutal. Now, like you said, it's not a big enough sample to be like, oh, the moment got to him. That's not fair. But this is actually, while it is one of the cruelest things at times about sports, it's one of the things I find so gratifying about watching sports. This sport in particular, because football is a small sample size sport. Just is. You're never going to get your 5,000 at bats. You're not going to get 400 NBA games. Right. Small sample size sport. Sam Darnold went into this game like, all right, I play great. I'm going to be on a lot of MVP ballots. Not at the top, but I'm going to be on a lot of MVP ballots. True. We get the bye, get the 1 seed, and I'm looking at almost a floor of $100 million coming my way. Like that, I play great. Now Sam Darnold walks into his next game and says, if I play poorly, I'm just back to being Sam Darnold again. Like that's
elevated Sam Darnold.
Yeah, but not that much.
Right.
But it really changed.
It makes if they lose the next game and he doesn't play well,
and he plays poorly.
I've been saying they should sign him. Yeah, but it will make you be like maybe just franchise.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like, and again, that might seem unfair, but that is sports. That is the NFL. And let me say one other thing to credit Dan Campbell before you go, man. Everybody loves Kevin O'Connell. I love him too. Kevin O'Connell tried to play Dan Campbell's game yesterday and lost it. The Lions go for fourth downs more than any team in the league. The Vikings go for it less than any team in the league. But because you're playing the Lions, this is Chiefs-esque in a bit, even though the Chiefs aren't a big aggressive fourth down team. Teams feel like we've got to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. Kevin O'Connell, it seemed like he was pressing a bit. Like, oh, I can't kick these field goals. I've got to go. Right. I've got to do this. And maybe that was, in theory, the smart thing. But it seemed like one team was doing it by staying true to themselves. The other team was doing it by kind of going outside of themselves.
Let me quickly say this.
Yeah.
Darnold is boom or bust. Sure. So of the 17 games this year, 13 times he had a pass rating of 103 or higher, which is great. Yeah. 3 times it was below 60.
Which is horrible.
Which is right. Yeah. And then one time 74. So he's either going to be really good or terrible. And we'll see in the playoffs what it is.
Chiefs had nothing to play for. It looked like it. 38-0. Carson Wentz, 98 yards. Bo Nix lit up the Chiefs' backups 4 touchdowns. And I don't usually include conversations at the deli in the newsread. But while I was getting my meatball parm on a roll, do you see I had that?
Yeah.
Guy at the deli, because he's a Bills fan, was talking about Chiefs. He said they didn't want to play the Bengals.
Oh.
Any concerns about the 38-0 final score?
They were scared?
That's out there. It's out there.
That's, and the guy at the deli who's wonderful and wears that Bills hat all the time is allowed to have that take because he has a responsibility of running the deli. The people who get paid massive amounts of money to give sports takes who have that take and leave out the fact that in order to play the Bengals would have to have clipped Buffalo first, which would be objectively great for Kansas City, are not allowed to have that take. But everyone from your favorite next Jets head coach to Don Van Natta Jr. has that same idiotic take. And I wouldn't have, listen, by the way.
I like both of those guys.
Both of them?
Yeah,
you like Rex?
Rex. I
wow.
like Rex.
But regardless, we don't have a lot of time here. And since you brought up the Bengals, let's talk about the Bengals for a moment. Because my only concern about KC is Butker missed that kick. And I am a little worried about that. But aside from that, let's talk about the team KC was so worried about playing. Okay, well, the team to beat in the AFC for the second straight year won't be in the playoffs in the AFC, so bring the board, please. Here's the deal. Before I even do the eliminations, there are 3 ways you can eliminate a team from the playoffs in the NFL. You can beat them in the playoffs. You can beat them in the regular season to eliminate them mathematically from the playoffs. Or the cruelest way, you can lose to someone else that denies them their spot in the playoffs. In 2022, the Chiefs did it the old-fashioned way. They beat them head-to-head. In 2023, they did it the medium way. They beat them in the regular season and knock them out. And this year, they did it that way. So the old trifecta. So let's see how many S-talking Bengals have to be eliminated because there's a lot of them. Where my tiny hands ruined my tacks, so I got to grab them. There we go. First one, Zach Taylor. What'd you say? You wouldn't trade Burrow for Mahomes. Okay, well, maybe because you get more time off with Burrow. I'm not sure. Ja'Marr Chase said, we're the AFC's best. You're going home early again. Cam Taylor-Britt only runs straight to the postseason while you run straight to Cabo in your first year. Let's see what the offseason looked like. Hold on a second. Anyone here? Oh, Ja'Marr Chase. Remember, he wouldn't say Patrick's name. Yeah. You can say, well, I hope you're not watching the Super Bowl. They're going to be saying it quite a bit. And then this one makes me sad because Joe Burrow's my guy. You're built to beat the Chiefs. Well, you've lost 3 times in a row to them, and you're not going to get to play them next year because the Chiefs play a first-place schedule and you play a third-place schedule. So, is that everybody? 5 eliminations? So. Oh, no, it's not. My goodness gracious. I hate to do it to my guy. But Tyreek, you got to go too, buddy. Tua's Mahomes caliber. Now you want out. Tyreek's got to go as well. I didn't even mean to do it. So, I mean, that's my level of concern while the Chiefs have their feet kicked up. Right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.